Now, a trans woman golfer, yes, will be required to undergo testosterone testing to verify his eligibility after he won a women's pro tour event in Florida. Well, of course, he shouldn't be eligible because he's a man and it was a women's event. Easy for the rest of us, but there we are. Joining me to discuss this is Fiona McAnena, who's Director of Sport at Fair Play for Women, a fantastic organisation fighting for, well, just, fairness in sport. Thank you so much for joining us, Fiona.
Good to be here, Julia.
I mean, now, this is a transgender, a man living as a woman, Hailey Davidson, born in Scotland, now lives in Florida, lifted the trophy after finishing more than 100 points ahead of, and I don't know why the Daily Mail have done this, says her closest rival, but Hailey Davidson's quite clearly a man, whatever he calls himself, but his closest rival at the Mission Inn Resort and Club, and his success, surprisingly, has sparked outrage among golf fans since he was born male and therefore remains male forever and has a clear advantage. Now there's going to be testing, but what will that testing show?
Well, it'll show, I mean, it's irrelevant because the difference between women and men is not testosterone levels, and we women are not simply men with low testosterone. So it's a bit of a fig leaf, I think. I don't know why they're bothering.
Yeah.
We all know now that male-female differences in sport are so many and cannot be reversed, and that's why they have a separate women's tour. Yeah. If they were arguing that there's no difference, well, then Hailey can play with everyone. But they're actually saying that women need their own tour, but that a few selected male people like Hailey should be able to join in, and that makes no sense at all. And I think we all know that now.
Yeah, I mean, we do all know that. And again, the differences are very, very key, and it's across virtually every single sport. And I think every sport, it's, men are on average bigger, they are stronger, their muscle density, the testosterone alone, and you can have surgery. You can live completely as if you were a woman. You can take hormone after hormone. You will never change and never completely do away with, or even wildly do away with, the huge advantage of male puberty, which gives men an advantage over women, whatever they call themselves or however they dress. Anyone with any scintilla of knowledge of sporting ability would know that this is the case. And yet we're still fighting these battles in sport after sport. And we have ridiculous statements like this trans golfer, Hailey Davidson, saying, well, again, he might have held, I'm not being rude to him, he can call himself whatever he wants and live how he wants to live his life, but he doesn't have a right to be a cheat in women's sport. He might have held a physiological advantage in the past, says this is no longer the case, saying, I think we forget that people are actually humans at the same time. No one's dehumanising him, and said that no, trans athletes shouldn't be banned, but at the same time there needs to be regulations in place because it shouldn't just be a free-for-all. But no one is talking about banning trans athletes. They can compete, but in the category in which they were born.
Yes, and I think the people who are being dehumanized here are women and girls, because no one is paying any attention to the feelings of all of those. Think of that golfer who came second, who should have been first, and all the others. And Julia, we published a report last week showing how this is happening across UK sport at all levels. We had testimony from dozens and dozens of women and girls saying how this is affecting them. And
basically, why bother if a man's always going to beat me?
Well, and if there's going to be maybe a man or a boy in the changing room, or no one's going to be honest with me, I won't know I'm facing a boy. It creates a great deal of uncertainty, and some women are just dropping out of sport because they can no longer be confident of what they're going to find.
Yeah.
So
and we're seeing it in contact sports like wrestling, like boxing, where, let's just make a sport of men punching women in the face. That seems like a good thing to do. But this is the thing. Women are fearful for their physical safety, as you say, we've had, women's sports people talking about having to have, men in the changing rooms with them, claiming to be trans women, fully intact, everything on show, naked in the change rooms. If they weren't claiming to be trans, they would be arrested. And yet somehow the rules are different. But the impact on women is exactly the same. Do you think that the world is waking up to this? I mean, like your report last week, we talked about it on the show. Do you think there is just a recognition now, mums and dads are aware of what's going on in the schools, and it's not just sort of something that happens like there's 3 people who do it and never mind, it's not a big deal. This is across the board, men who are mediocre, are moving from competing against other men to competing against women. They're claiming a lot of the times that they're trans when it's, oh, miraculously, suddenly you're doing well in this sport when you've suddenly decided you're living as a trans woman. No surgery, no nothing, no reason to think this even genuine a lot of the time. And frankly, most of us have a word for these people. I think it's called cheats.
Well, I think people are waking up to it, to answer your question. They say they're not cheating because the rules allow them to do it. We think the rules should be changed because everyone knows it simply isn't fair. And when you have bad rules, that doesn't mean you can absolve yourself of any responsibility. But yes, we are seeing now that dads and mums are finding the courage to speak up and point out on behalf of their daughters that they deserve fairness, they deserve privacy, they deserve opportunity. And what we need now is some more sports to find a bit of moral courage, actually, to do the right thing. Because the sports that have made their policy changes and restored a female category haven't had a backlash, because everyone knows it's completely reasonable.
Exactly. And the more women who stand up and speak out on this is brilliant. You've done a fantastic job there. Fiona McAnena from Fair Play for Women, thank you so much.